Hey, security peeps. I am excited to be here back with you today on this Breaking into Security, Cybersecurity webinar series. I am here with my co-host. I am Renee Brown Small. I am the author of Magnetic Hiring, which is a book focused on cybersecurity recruiting. I am here with my co-host, Chris Foulon. He is here with me, and he is a super cybersecurity professional. And I am also here with Lindsey Mannion, and we are so happy to have her on today, talking about, hey Lindsey, talking about how she broke into the cybersecurity field. So I am going to jump right in and get started. Lindsey, can you share with us what made you break into the field? How long have you been in the field? I know you haven't been in for a super long time. But talk to us about what you were doing beforehand and what made you want to break into cybersecurity.
Okay, yeah, I started actually with physical therapy, which is kind of a big move to cybersecurity. But my brother actually did work for the Navy. Now he contracts for the Navy at Andrews Air Force Base, and he does cybersecurity, security down there. Kind of got me interested in it, and I took a class. And I just kind of fell in love with security and cybersecurity. And so from there, I got my bachelor's, and then I'm finishing my master's now in digital forensics and cyber investigation. And at my old job, there really wasn't any mobility. It was like more stagnant. And so I really found a lot of growth going into cybersecurity, and I just really love it.
So Lindsey, did you have you were already a physical therapist? You had a bachelor's in physical therapy.
I had an associate's in physical therapy.
And then you went on, your brother is in security, you got excited about it, and then went on to get your bachelor's.
Yep.
Amazing. Chris, jump in.
What about the cybersecurity community outside of your brother being into it that made you want to become part of the community?
I really just kind of like the changing aspect of it, how there's something you can always learn. It's always changing. It's a very dynamic field. So you don't feel like you go to your job every day and it's the same thing over and over again. It's really dynamic. It's changing. It's fun most of the time. So I really like that aspect of it. And that's kind of what drew me to it even more.
So tell us what you do in your current role right now. Well, how long have you been in the industry?
I have been in there not even, it'll be 2 years in January.
Okay, perfect. So tell us what you do. Tell us if, as a new person trying to break in, tell us about your day-to-day activities, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Tell us about your job.
A lot of what I do deals with incident response, malware. So we have like emails reported to us, and then I'll go down and do analysis of the header information, take the links, attachments, kind of evaluate those further. If there's a security incident, right now I'm running everything out from beginning to end of that incident. I also do a lot with the security awareness program for now. And so I do a lot with creating trainings and educating people, sending out communications to our associates about security incidents that happen, like phishing attacks, stuff like that. And I also do a lot of legal forensics. So I do, if we have incidents regarding, like in an HR matter, I will do all the forensics at our company that are revolving around that.
Wow, that's quite a lot, and that's quite varied as well. What were some of the challenges that you had coming into it, ramping up, or even now?
Coming into it, I came from a really different setting. So learning how the corporate setting is a lot different. So just kind of learning how corporations work and how nothing happens overnight. And, then kind of figuring out how much effort it takes to change anything, so stuff like that was kind of a bigger culture shock in a way. And then, just learning how to manage everything, the whole workload and all that was a definite change.
No, I think it's just fantastic. I keep speaking to so many medical professionals that are breaking into the cybersecurity industry. Last week when Charles was on, he came from a nonprofit industry, but I talked to people probably in the last couple of weeks. It's been quite a few folks that have been in. One lady is actually a medical doctor breaking into, trying to get into the cybersecurity field. She just finished her master's. And then I just recently, over the last days, spoke with a nurse who is also, going through the process and starting to try to break into the cybersecurity space. So outside of you went and you got your bachelor's, and then you went and you got your master. You're getting your master's right now. Did you also get any certifications, or was it focused on higher
ed? I do have my CompTIA Security Plus, and I do want to get more. I'm kind of just focusing on finishing up grad school. I have one more class left, and then after that, I really want to get a few more certifications. I want to be like the certified forensic investigator. I definitely want to get that one, and then just a couple more cybersecurity related ones.
What were some of the transferable skills that you had in your previous role that you feel are critical in your new role, that so people can see that what they were doing before is still valuable to what they want to do now?
I think one thing is a lot of communication skills that I've learned from talking to different departments. At my old job, I had to do that too. We had to collaborate a lot on things. And just by talking with other people and learning how to communicate and kind of lead communications and really understand what people need and what they're talking about, listening was kind of a big skill that I could bring over and kind of transfer that into building relationships in my new job.
So talk to me about you. So you went to your brother. Your brother made you aware of the industry because you said he was in the Navy. He's in the Navy.
He was in the Navy. Now he contracts for the Navy, like a contractor.
So what?
Navy contractor.
Tell me how you got to your job. Like you were in school, or you decided after talking to him that you wanted to break into the industry, and you got Chris asked about the community and understanding what cybersecurity was all about. Talk to us, give us the steps that you took, because a lot of people want to know kind of step by step what happened, what made you pick the degree program that you picked. Did you get a role directly out of college? How did you go about getting that first job?
Yeah, I kind of didn't really know where to start. So I just started applying to jobs that I thought I could manage, or I thought I had a good shot at, basically. And so I kind of didn't know what to expect. And I actually got a call back, and I think I could say one thing is really to prepare for your interview. I kind of prepared and tried to get as much knowledge as I could and get ready for it. I think if you could do an internship, that would be probably the best thing you could do. I really didn't have the option to do that because I already had a family and a full-time job. But I would say internships are a really great thing, and you can get experience that way, because a lot of times people want that 2 to 3 years experience for almost every position. So if you could gain that in any way, through an internship or anything like that, I would highly recommend internships.
What would be some advice that you would give someone in their transition process? How long was your search, or what activities did you do outside of just applying for jobs to help you transition in?
I really try to research cybersecurity in general, what's going on with the news. And even in my first interview, they asked me what's a recent cybersecurity incident that's going on right now or just happened recently. So, you know, staying up to date with cybersecurity, the trends, not just the stuff you learn in school, but also stuff that's happening in the real world. I think that could really help people, and you might get asked about that, and that really shows another level of understanding and kind of passion towards cybersecurity, I think.
No, that's a really good point. Tasha Gay asks, was it difficult to get in the field with no prior experience? I know last week, to tack on to that, last week Charles talked about the fact that he applied to 200 jobs. So I think, you know, when I get people, they reach out, that's literally like what they're going through. So that's why I kind of wanted to know, like, what steps you took when you were breaking in.
Yeah, I kind of got lucky, and even I live in a pretty country area. Like, there's not a lot of big cities around us. Cleveland, Ohio is our closest city, and so I actually got pretty lucky. Within the first 6 months, I would say I probably applied to a few, not really knowing if I would hear back or anything. And then I heard back from Diebold Nixdorf, and then that's kind of, it actually didn't take a lot, as long as you might think. And maybe that's because we're in a smaller community. It's harder to find security professionals locally. So that might have helped me a lot too.
Where do you live?
Whereas if you're in a bigger city.
Yeah,
where do I live?
Cleveland?
Yeah, I actually live, not in Alliance, Ohio. It's a small town outside, but I work in North Canton.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's about an hour southeast of Cleveland.
Okay, got it.
In the middle of nowhere.
So you mentioned that in one of your interviews, they asked you, like, how do you keep current? What are some of the things that you still do to keep current on the latest happenings? Do you use RSS feeds, blogs, podcasts? Like, what do you use to keep current?
Yeah, here we are members of FSISAC, so I use that on a deeper level. But also, I just go to like Threat Post is a good site to get stuff off. The Hacker News, Dark Reading. They have more information that's more security related. That's not in the mainstream news, but it's still relevant to security professionals every day. So I would say Krebs on Security is another good one that kind of posts relevant security issues. So if you could go to any of those sites and kind of just start looking at what's happening in the news, those can definitely help.
Are you outside of doing that, are you doing any like continuous, and you talked about your master's degree. So keeping abreast, I know, is huge because people always want to know, like, okay, what's anyone doing? What is someone doing when they're on the job? You know, it's continuous learning. And you talked about getting your security, moving forward and getting the additional certifications. What would you tell someone who is brand new and they don't know where they're getting into? Because it sounds like your role is pretty specific to incident response. And some people don't even know what that is. Like, they don't even know, you're saying it and Chris knows what it is and I know what it is, but maybe even explaining like to a middle school person, explaining to someone like, hey, this is what incident response is and this is how you get into it, would be great.
Like what we can do. So I guess if you, I'm not sure what you're asking.
Pretty much like if you were, because some people don't know, you got into an area in security and you're mostly in incident response. And sometimes it's so broad. Okay. So remember when you kind of like first started out, you were at this, you kind of didn't know what it was and you applied to various. Would you be able to explain to someone like what incident response is, and if they wanted to kind of like get into that area, what they should kind of focus on?
Yeah, so incident response, especially like if you talk in the cybersecurity, can start with many different events. Like it can range from somebody received a phishing email, which is like a malicious email at your company. and they happen to click on a link. And so incident response would be from that beginning, the incident happens, to following it through all the way to the end. So checking out what kind of malware it is, how it's affecting their system, what can be done to clean their system, depending on where that malware may hide or if it's going to drop in a different location. And so fully cleaning, making sure their device is clean, and then at the same time kind of figuring out how this can be prevented in the future, and then reporting those metrics back to people at an executive level, your boss. And so then they can, the SOC team, which is security operations team, to figure out, was a certain port open, that this malware reached out and communicated with, what IPs can we block, what domains were associated with this malware, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Incident response is a very technical area of cybersecurity. What were some of the things outside of schooling that you used to help gain your skills, get up to speed quickly, to fully understand the environments and how malware works and everything like that?
I think a lot of it is taking initiative and kind of doing your own research. And so instead of something coming in and then just sending it off to somebody else, even if we would escalate it to a different party, I would still do my back end research on it and figure out, okay, we saw this malware, how can I learn more about it? So I would just take the initiative to kind of go on my own. There are sites like virustotal.com you can use to scan general links, and maybe from that link, it'll give you associated domains and stuff like that. So you can kind of start to learn how malware is related and how a link can hold malware and stuff like that just by, Googling it, educating yourself. Hybrid Analysis is another good site that you can actually drop attachments in and everything, and it'll give you screenshots of the attachment. And it's an open source tool that anybody can use. And I kind of just found that one on my own. VirusTotal, I learned about that from my colleagues and stuff. But
you said VirusTotal, and what was the other one?
Hybrid Analysis.
So being where you are now, if you had to start over, would you continue down the formal education route? Would you go down certification route, or would you focus on self-training, self-learning? Which avenue might you advise for someone that you've seen has been the most effective for you?
I definitely think having a degree is important. A lot of people say, oh, you don't need a degree, just get certifications. But a lot of times they still want this degree, and they might pick somebody with a degree over you. So if you could get a degree, that would be ideal. But certifications and experience is one of the biggest things I've learned. And you could be top of everything, I think, and not have experience. And it's going to be hard to kind of break into it, which is not fun. But I think certifications definitely help them to understand that you actually know what you're talking about. That's one thing. They don't want to so I think certifications and definitely a degree helps. But experience is probably one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
That people look for, I think.
To jump in there, because I'm on the hiring side and I'm pretty much seeing this every single day, experience trumps pretty much everything else. And you're absolutely right. Folks with a degree are just going to, because most of the companies, especially when you're looking at a lot of the Fortune 500 companies, like the barrier to entry is a degree. And almost everyone there has a degree. And typically, a person is a complete rock star, like completely, blowing them away with all types of other experience for the degree to be, I don't want to say not needed, but for them to kind of like get through the channels. So to add on to what you're saying, you're absolutely right. Like it's a multi-pronged approach. The certifications are great because you're getting the continuous learning. The degree is kind of like the foundation. So it shows that you put in that commitment. And I get it that a lot of people, if you're working full time and you have other things going on, like it's tough, it's really hard, but that's one of the foundational pieces to getting in. And then, like you said, experience pretty much trumps everything. So if people can get that experience outside of actually getting paid experience. Some of the things that I tell people sometimes is like, you know, talk to me about when they don't have like official paid experience, or like you talked about, Lindsey, with the internships. If they don't necessarily have the internships, if they have projects that they worked on, like you're in your master's program right now and you have projects that you're working on, and in your undergrad program, I know you have projects, that group projects and things that you worked on, facing that and playing that up, because that is kind of a little bit of a sample of the type of work that you could be doing, and doing your own self-directed work. All the points that you made, you know, going out there, understanding, going and looking at all the different, keeping abreast of the industry, understanding everything, not everything, but understanding what's going on that could potentially affect. Is totally key. And you're right, you're absolutely right. Experience is like what every single world. Everybody wants somebody.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris, you had something else?
Yeah, if you had one piece of parting advice that you would offer someone transitioning in, what might that one piece of advice be?
I would try to, what helped me a lot too is like finding a mentor or somebody that can kind of help guide you, try to make connections. I think making, getting on LinkedIn and making a profile and kind of reaching out there to people and not being afraid, to get rejected, and just kind of putting yourself out there and just going for it. That's probably the best thing you could do.
Definitely. That's something that I started doing 5-6 years ago, and it's definitely helped me progress through my career. I've had lots of people that have offered me guidance, offered me suggestions, and helped me realize that it might be a long path, but it definitely helps you that you have that support from someone who's been there, who's done that, and kind of validating what you're doing will lead to positive results.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Chris, how we all met is through LinkedIn, right? And how I meet pretty much 90-something% of the people I meet nowadays are through LinkedIn. And so being that voice and having that social media presence and connecting with folks, and Chris is amazing at this. Like, he's out there pretty much connecting and posting on everyone's stuff when it comes to cybersecurity. And so then people get to really know you and see, like, okay, outside of your, job that you're passionate about the industry, you're connecting with your peers online and then offline. I mean, one of the things Charles talked about last week was going to networking events and meeting people in person. And Lindsey, I wanted to ask, is that something, having a mentor is absolutely like key, but do you also attend any offline? Do you do things offline and go to mentor networking, cybersecurity networking events?
I don't. We do have. We're members of like a NEOC, which is like a community up here of all cybersecurity professionals that will meet and kind of discuss things. And so it does give you to meet these people in everyday life and kind of share what you're seeing and what they're seeing, and that definitely does help too. Meeting people in person is great.
I know Chris is a huge fan of that too.
Yeah, I take advantage of the local ISSA events. Then there's smaller conferences like B-Sides that are usually low cost or free that you can go to. You don't have to just go to the big ones like the Black Hats and the DEF CONs, but the smaller ones will also give you that personal feel of meeting those in the industry and getting inspired as well.
Yeah, and I feel like the local ones are even sometimes better for entry-level people versus like the Black Hats and the huge ones in Vegas, because you're really, when you're trying to break into the industry, you are most likely going to get a role area, and building relationships with the folks that are on the ground that are right there, that they see you coming to the events every month, and then they see you on LinkedIn, or they see you at the various networking, the conferences and all the various things that are happening. Like, we know, I guess Chris and I are in the DC metro area, but all over the world, I guess it's going to be Cybersecurity Month next month, and there's going to be a zillion events, conferences, get-togethers, all that stuff. And so folks that are looking to break into the industry would, it would behoove these people to be at these various events, meeting people locally in their industry, So, Lindsey, I know it's 12:25. Like Chris said, does anyone else have any additional questions for Lindsey? Lindsey, do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so.
Oh, this is so good. Oh, I have a question, an additional question. What's it like being a woman in cybersecurity? I don't know what the percentage of women to men is like in your organization, but how big is your department? And, do you feel like there's any difference with being a woman in security?
Our department's pretty big because we're a pretty big company. But I think for the area being so not, it's kind of more country, that there's not a lot of girls or women in general that are in IT or security or anything like that out here. So there's definitely a difference. And I think that being a woman, you have to kind of even try harder and kind of work harder to get certain places. But I think that's, is changing and getting better. And I always love to see another woman in the field. So, but yeah, there's definitely more men than usual than any other.
No, it's definitely important from a diversity perspective to have different views. Men might look at one situation one way, women might look at it a different way. So, and also different cultural backgrounds, because I might look at things one way, you a different way, and someone else a different way, and then all three of us will come together and find a better solution than just one of us did.
Yeah, I think specifically in security, like it's so key to have diversity of thought. Just as a whole, you want people from. Well, I love like that you were a physical therapist. I absolutely love that, and I love to see people coming in from so many different fields, because you're bringing in a level of knowledge that someone who just grew up in technology or grew up just in cybersecurity just does not have what you have, and that's woman, male, across the board. So bringing in that diversity of thought, just, you probably, the way you look at a problem inherently is probably from your physical therapy training. Like, how would I fix this person if they had a broken knee or whatever? And that translates into your role as a cybersecurity professional, like the way you look at problems. So bringing people in, I think, from so much different, these diverse backgrounds. And then, like Chris said, layering on top of that you're a woman and you're looking at things from, that perspective. There's just so many perspectives. I think it's so key, specifically in this industry where this is so much change, it's every single day. So very cool. So it is 12:28 Eastern. So we have 2 minutes left. I wanted to add any questions. Lauren, thank you for your question. Tasha Gay, thank you for your question. Anyone else have any questions before I do a final announcement? So next week we are having, I believe, let's see here. We have Jose Lopez. He is coming on next week. And then after him, we are probably going to have Spencer Brown. I know he is lined up and excited to come on. So we're trying to bring in more and more folks that have just broken into the industry. I am also, as you all probably know, have been working on boot camps. And so the first one that's coming out is what everyone, I hear from you all, probably dozens, at least 2 dozen people probably a day reach out around LinkedIn profiles and resumes. And the very first mini bootcamp is going to be about that. I will be sharing that link shortly around how we can get your LinkedIn profile. Lindsey, you made a comment about this earlier as well, with having, connecting on LinkedIn, getting your LinkedIn profile baked up, because it is one of the very first things that people look at when you even try to connect with them. you know? So if Lindsey's profile had like physical therapy stuff and she was trying to connect with me, I'd be like, who's this woman? And, you know, why is she trying to connect with me? So making sure that your LinkedIn profile is fully baked, and then obviously that and the resume go hand in hand. So that's going to be the very first mini bootcamp coming up. I am planning it for next Saturday and Sunday morning online. So I will send that link out. And Chris said, continue to share and tag people, folks, anyone else that's here. If you know anyone in the industry who has just broken into the industry, meaning under 5 years, we definitely want to meet with them and talk with them. So please tag someone and share this as much as you can so we can get more people's experiences so that you can hear, so the folks who are trying to break into the industry can hear what it's like from different perspectives. So thank you all. Thanks again. Thanks, Chris, for being an awesome co-host. Thanks, Lindsey, for answering all our great questions. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.